Hello, everyone. This is Ravi Agarwal from engageSPARK. Thank you for joining the webinar. It's my first time using Google Hangouts on Air to use this to do webinars, so I'm still trying to figure it out. Looks like there's a delay. Still trying to see how this works. So please excuse as I figure this out. Thank you very much, Sarah, for organizing this webinar and promoting it. We're really honored to be able to present to the Malago Foundation grantees and about engageSPARK and how our technology is used worldwide to help increase impact. I assume everybody can see my PowerPoint, so I'm going to go to, here we go, full screen. All right. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Ravi. I'm originally from Boston, where I started 3 tech companies, and then volunteered with Grameen Foundation working on the MOTEC program, which is a maternal health program, and then the CKW and AG program in Uganda. My co-founder is Avner. He's originally a lawyer from NYU, and then he started Not in My Country, and then in Uganda, which is how we met. And we started this about 3 years ago. Today, we're headquartered in Cebu City, Philippines. We're a not-for-profit social business, and so our sole mission is to empower social enterprises, NGOs, and civil society organizations to leverage this technology to maximize their impact by making it super easy to use SMS voice, missed calls to engage staff and communities very easily, quickly, and affordably. And just as a quick background, as well as working on the Grameen Foundation program in Ghana for the MOTEC program, that I saw the need for such a service. There was no such easy-to-use technology platform that was easy and quick, nor affordable. Everything required having to hire tech people in order to build and implement programs. And I've just felt that so many NGOs and social enterprises just were not able to take advantage of the technology to increase their impact because the technology was hard to use and very expensive. So that's where the idea came from. We started this about 3 years ago. We launched the product in beta about 1.5 years ago and launched it formally last year. Since then, we've had lots of customers in about 51 countries worldwide. We've got programs with Mercy Corps in 4 countries, International Rescue Committee, all sorts of programs with, we also have some commercial customers like Intel, and Nura Health, which is a Malago grantee and somebody who recommended us to Malago, is also using us for their health programs in India. So let's talk about dumb phones. You probably all know this already, but the internet is not ubiquitous. 65% of people in the developing world are not online on a regular basis. However, most people in the world now have access to a mobile phone. While most of them are not smartphones, they are dumb phones. Looks like maybe it's because of this. Looks like the PowerPoint's not moving along, so it's in full screen mode. So maybe I just have to. Yep. Looks like Google on Air is not showing my current slide. Okay. I assume now all of you can see my SMS and voice, our ubiquitous slide. Okay. Sorry about that. Still working on the technical difficulties with Google on Air. Looks like I can't go into full screen mode with PowerPoint, so I'll just be in this mode. So while internet's not ubiquitous, but SMS and voice are, because most people now have access to a mobile phone. And the beauty of it is that SMS and voice work on all mobile phones in the world. It doesn't matter if it's a smartphone or a feature phone or dumb phone. And interestingly enough, the poor will forego food and transport to buy airtime because communication is that critical to them. One thing I'll go back to real quick is to show you just some of the partners and customers that we have around the world that have used the platform. Some of them I mentioned. Here's some others, including Innovations Poverty Action, Ideas 42, Population Services International. So this is all in the last year, and it's growing faster and faster. So let's talk next about how to use SMS and voice to engage staff and constituents. Let me make the screen a little bigger. So what we've done is really worked hard to build the easiest tool for building Voice IVR and two-way SMS campaigns. And I'll talk, and for those of you that don't know what Voice IVR means, Voice IVR is Voice Interactive Voice Response. So what that means is being able to press buttons during a phone call to get information, or to press buttons to respond to a question, or being able to speak and the response is recorded. So it's really interactive voice, but pre-recorded in local language. Two-way SMS campaigns. So our quest has been to build the easiest tool so that techies are not required for social enterprises and NGOs to implement their programs using this technology, and especially no training is required. So we use three-step wizards, and I'll give you a demo in a few minutes so you can actually see for yourself how easy and quick it is to build these campaigns, or as we call them, engagements, because of our name, and launch them for thousands or tens of thousands of people. So voice calls, as I mentioned, are pre-recorded in local language. So our customers typically, they'll record the audio on their computers using their own staff, and then upload the MP3 into our system. And those are the sound files that get played when people answer their phone or as they respond to different menu choices. We find that voice calls are more effective for getting responses, and I'll talk more about that later, and more persuasive as well, because you're able to use things like tone, voice, gender, age to have an effect on the listener. Missed calls, most of you or all of you have probably done a missed call in your many times, and that's where you've called somebody and they haven't answered, but it was a signal for them. And this could be a signal that they should call you back as soon as they can. In some countries, it's a signal that, hey, I'm outside, come outside. Or in certain countries like India, it's a signal that you're from a business telling their customer, your order's here, come pick it up. The advantage of using missed calls is that the person making the missed call, because the call actually doesn't connect, because the other person doesn't answer the call, there is no cost for a missed call. So it's a great way to not only build a database, but also to have a participant initiate something by doing a missed call, and then they get a call back or an SMS back immediately with information or a survey. This way it's user or constituent initiated, but without them having to pay for it. SMS text is great for quick mass communication, and the advantage is the message can be saved and reread and easily forwarded. Airtime transfer, as you know, most of the world has prepaid, most people in developing countries especially use prepaid phones and SIM cards, and we're able to do airtime transfer to most developing countries' telcos. So this is where we can send a few dollars or $1 or 50 cents of airtime to staff on a regular basis, or to constituents as an incentive, or to compensate them for the cost of them sending SMSs or making phone calls. One of the big things that we worked on, this was a problem we saw when we did our initial customer needs assessment, was the telco integration problem. If you've done any SMS or voice programs in the past, you know how difficult it is to deal with telcos, and especially to get phone numbers or short codes or connectivity. It often takes weeks, if not months, sometimes even a year. So we've worked hard on that problem, where it's in 90 countries, our customers can actually buy a local inbound phone number instantly through our platform, and I'll show that, or set up an Android phone to have a local phone number that your constituents can send an SMS into, or call into, or do a missed call into. And of course, we can call out or send an SMS to anybody in every country in the world. So we really try to build a comprehensive solution for the needs of our customers in any country. As you would imagine, there are lots of use cases using this technology. Alerts and reminders, everything from sending out an alert for, hey, a typhoon is coming, to weather forecast to farmers, or an MFI or microfinance institution reminding the customers about their loan repayment amounts and schedule, or just to remind patients to take medicine or come back for an appointment. Another great use case is to retrieve information. It could be, and again, all these things can be done via SMS or via Voice IVR, but it could be to get crop prices, weather information, health information, or find out where the closest place where you can go vote. For education, we've seen soap operas have been very successful, because it's a story people follow along, especially when they're voice-based soap operas. Mercy Corps actually did a great financial literacy program by using a 6-week soap opera. Then they ended up doing twice for another issue. So it ended up being a 12-week soap opera with 2 characters, Ben and Joy, discussing their finances with a quiz at the end. And this had a great result in that the savings rates of the people who received the voice call more than doubled, which was far better than in-person training or SMS-based soap operas. Data collection, as you can imagine, is an obvious fit, especially for impact assessment. Being able to push out phone calls or SMSs to get questions answered. While in-person surveys are great for the initial survey or the midline or end line, SMS or voice-based surveys are great for interim surveys or questions, or just some quick information gathering campaign. Missed calls is a great way of building a list of interested people. So by advertising a missed call phone number, so for example, on billboards or radio, advertising a phone number and saying, hey, do a missed call to learn more about the HIV campaign, or to get more information, or to get the weather forecast for this week. And the nice benefit of that is you're actually getting all of those people's phone numbers and building a database or a list of those people who are interested in that content. Another great use case we're starting to see more and more of is a hotline, where people can do a missed call. So for example, the International Rescue Committee is doing this in Jordan, where women who experience violence living in Syrian refugee camps, they can do a missed call to a phone number, they get a phone call back, and then it says press 1 if it's an emergency, press 2 to learn about office hours, etc. If the woman presses 1, then our system automatically sends an SMS to the on-call staff at IRC with her phone number, so the staff members can then call her back and help her immediately. So hotlines are a great way to report issues or to get help immediately. At the bottom, you'll see a quote from Isha at Noor Health, and this is really what has been our focus in building our platform, has been to make it so easy to be able to do all these things without having to bring in techies. And you'll hear me say that again and again, because we're here to democratize this technology so that non-techies, a project manager or a field worker or somebody sitting in the office in headquarters can implement these programs, these campaigns in minutes without having to bring in a software developer or a techie person. We thought it'd be great to share some of our key learnings. We found that, as with that, you would imagine with any program and the use of new technologies, it's very important to iterate. I can't stress that enough. So by sending out, by doing a small campaign first, learning lessons, then being able, then changing and updating. It could be that the voice message is not optimal. For example, in many places, people aren't used to pressing keys during a phone call, so it's better to be explicit about that and say, now press 1 on your phone to respond yes. And the beauty of an easy-to-use platform and its self-service is that you can rapidly iterate. So you can run a voice survey, send it out to 100 people, wait 2 hours, see what results you get, and then create another campaign and iterate, so you can learn within very quickly on revisions of the campaign and get the impact and the results that you're looking for. So for example, just by adding automatic retries, this one campaign was able to double the call pickup rate. So automatic retries are when calls go out to people and they're busy or they're out of signal, our system will automatically call them back. Or for example, increasing delay rate so that when people are thinking about the response, if they got a survey question, press 1 if you're female, press 2 if you're male, or something longer. Sometimes people need more time to think about it and to respond. So just by increasing the number of times the question was replayed, we were able to dramatically increase the response rate. But that's a key thing here is being able to, because the technology is self-service and easy, you can quickly iterate. A lot of people, I imagine all of you have probably done some sort of SMS campaigns. It might be just informational blasts, might be surveys, and a lot of people we find haven't done voice yet and don't quite understand the benefits. So here are the key benefits of using voice versus SMS, especially because we find in most of the campaigns we see our customers do that voice tends to have better engagement and better results. So the response rates we see are typically much, much higher for voice surveys, for example, than SMS surveys. SMS surveys, most programs are lucky if they get something like 3 to 5% response rates. But for voice, we see 40 to 60% response rates for a variety of reasons. Some of that tends to be because it costs people money to reply to an SMS, or it's more back and forth, whereas a voice, they get a voice call that's pushed out to them. And unlike back in the US and other Western countries where we don't answer robocalls from people for phone numbers we don't recognize, we find that in most developing countries, people aren't used to robocalls. So for them, it's something that's new and unique, and they actually answer all the phone calls they get. You've probably noticed that in meetings, they'll actually step out or stop right there and actually take a phone call. We also find, very importantly, that voice calls are much more inclusive, just because literate and semi-literate, illiterate and semi-literate people can also participate in voice, whereas SMS, obviously, they're not able to type responses. But we also find that because SMS response rates are 3 to 5%, it tends to be a subset of the group that is actually doing it. Might be they have more money, etc. Whereas voice is a much more inclusive and broadly representative pool of respondents. One of the great things about voice that increases these response rates is that it's free, without having to set up short codes, etc. So if you already have the beneficiary's phone numbers, then we can simply push out a phone call to them, and they answer, and then they hear the pre-recorded message or questions in the local language. And the reason it's free is outside of US and Canada, in every other place, it's only the caller who pays for the call, not the receiver of the call. So when we call the phones of everybody else or people in other countries, they're not paying to receive that call. And if the program does need to have the beneficiary initiate, the cheap way or the free way of doing that for them is to do a missed call. So they can do a missed call, our system sees that, and then we call them right back. And then when they answer, interact with them using the voice system. And this can be set up and started within minutes without having the need to set up any sort of shortcode or integration with telcos. We also find that people just tend to be more honest because on a voice call, they don't have that much time to think. With SMS, they have got minutes or hours to think about what's the right response that'll get them more benefits, for example. Probably the biggest thing that people don't realize is that the cost per response is typically lower for voice than of SMS. And the reason for that is that it takes several SMSs to fit in the same amount of content as you can in 1 minute of voice call. And because the SMS response rates are so low, it means that 95%, for example, of SMS that were sent to people actually got wasted. So there's a lot of, so the cost, the ROI on a per response basis is typically lower on voice calls, which is counterintuitive to most people because they look at and see how the per SMS cost might be 2 cents per SMS, but a voice might be 10 or 15 cents per minute. But because it takes more SMSs and the response rates are so low, it's usually the case that the voice will actually end up being cheaper on a per response basis. And another key thing is that voice calls, our customers only pay for the cost of that call when the recipient answers the call. Whereas if you've done SMS campaigns, you know that you're paying for the SMS regardless of if the person has even got the SMS. So if their SIM is deactivated, you still get charged for it, even if they never got it or saw it. As I mentioned before, it's much easier to make a voice call more engaging because you can use things like tone, age, gender, drama, other sounds, whereas SMS is flat. And very importantly, you get a lot more data with voice. For example, from the reports in our system, you'll be able to see who listened, which phone numbers actually answered the phone call, how many seconds or minutes they listened for, so you know what their level of engagement is, and what keys they pressed. Whereas with SMS, it's really just deliver or send and forget. You don't know if the person got it, if they read it, or how long they read it for, etc. And we find that by looking at how long people are listening to the phone calls, you can really segment people. And for people who only listen for 10 seconds, they're not that engaged. For people who listen for 60 seconds, they're very engaged, etc. So having all this data is really, really powerful. I have some case studies here, but I'll skip those for now. Actually, I'll show you the Philippines case studies. This is Mercy Corps Philippines. There's a pretty big program with 20,000 beneficiaries. They did a randomized controlled trial using control group, SMS only group, and a voice only group. And this program actually won a GSMA award for the financial literacy piece. And the key thing here, these were great results, is that the people who got the voice-based soap operas, their savings rates, which was the goal of this program, was to help people learn how to budget and save money. And the way this worked is they would get a phone call twice a week. They would answer their feature phone, dumb phone, and they would hear a pre-recorded dialogue between this married couple, Ben and Joy, discussing their finances. And at the end of every episode, there'd be a quiz. Press 1 if you think Ben and Joy should buy a TV, or press 2 if you think they should save their money for the kids' school fees. So it's a great way to reinforce the message as well as to test comprehension. The other great thing you can see from the graph below is that the increase in savings happened whenever the soap operas went out. So the first soap opera campaign was with Ben and Joy, the second one with Ana and Juan about gambling, and there was about roughly a 50% increase when these campaigns happened. So there was very strong correlation about the impact. And another thing that was interesting that they told us was that initially they started out doing in-person training, which cost them about $4 per person, but they found that the in-person training one time didn't have any lasting effects. Whereas because these soap operas were over 12 weeks, they actually saw sustained behavior and lasting behavior. And the cost they figured out was $1 something per person to send out the messages. So what I'll do now is actually show you a demo of the platform so you can see how easy and quick it is to be able to build campaigns to interact with people. So I'm just going to switch here to my browser. Sorry, still figuring out why it's not showing up. Here we go. All right, so I assume you can all see my browser here. All right, Abner gives me tells me you can. Excuse me. All right, so this is actually I'll show you. Yeah. Now, so engageSPARK.com, it's a self-service website, so you can actually sign up anytime for a new account. We believe in being transparent. One of the things that we worked on to democratize this technology for everyone is to make it super affordable and being upfront about all the fees. So if you click on pricing on the top left, you can actually see the pricing for any country. So if we want to see pricing for Kenya, for example, and this will show you, and we're 100% transparent, so all the pricing is here upfront. It tells you in those countries we can get a local phone number to receive calls from beneficiaries, for example. So everything is here, everything is upfront, and we do not have any contracts or implementation fees or minimum fees. Many of our customers just get started with $10, for example, to play around and learn the platform, and then once they gain confidence after doing some testing, then they will add much more money to run their campaigns. So if on the bottom, actually, you can see the breakdown by telco. So if you want to send an SMS to somebody on Airtel in Kenya, it would be a little less than 2 cents per message, or to call that person would be a little less than 19 cents per minute. So everything is upfront. There are no hidden costs. All right, so once you've signed up and signed in, you can, this is a list of all the engagements. Actually, before I go there, I will show you our phone number functionality. So this is really important, that if you want, if you just want to push out an informational SMS, or if you just want to push out a phone call, you don't need a local inbound phone number. But if you want the beneficiaries or staff members to reply to an SMS, or if you want them to initiate the phone call or call into a system, then you need a local phone number in that country, because obviously people are not going to call an international number. And so here, as I mentioned, we have, these are real live phone numbers that we have for about 90 countries. Looks like Thailand we're out of. But so when I type in Kenya here, these are real live phone numbers in Kenya. It's a voice-only number. It's a $5 setup fee, and you can rent that phone number for $30 per month. What this means is if you were to buy this phone number instantly, and you can buy right now and attach it to your account, and then you can attach it to a campaign, this means that people in Kenya could call this phone number and they could do one of two things. You could set it up as a missed call. They call it, our system sees that they called, and then we call them right back. Or they call in, our system answers the phone call, and then they can retrieve information. Something like press 1 to learn about preventing HIV, press 2 to learn about preventing malaria, etc. Or in certain countries, so for example, for Indonesia, these numbers are, you'll notice, are both voice and SMS enabled. So then by using this phone number in Indonesia, people could actually send an SMS text into this phone number, which will come into your account on our system. So if you were to send out a survey, this is a great way of doing it. So I mentioned we have these real phone numbers that are available for purchase immediately in 90 some countries. For the other 100 plus countries where we don't have that level of telco integration, we have a second option, which is an Android phone. The way this works is you buy a Android phone, put it in your office in that country. So if it's in Kenya, you might put it in Nairobi. You buy a SIM card with a local telco, let's say Safaricom. You install our app from the Google Play Store, type in this code into the app, and from that point on, that phone becomes an extension of our platform, of our system. So when you send out SMSs, you can choose that Android app, and then SMSs will go from our servers to that Android phone, and use the local SIM card of that phone to send out SMSs to the beneficiaries. And when the beneficiaries reply to that message, they'll reply to the phone number of that SIM card sitting in your office inside the Android phone, and then the app on the phone will forward it back to our server. So this way, you can set up a local phone number for inbound SMSs in any country in just minutes with just an Android phone. That Android phone with that local SIM card phone number can also be used as a missed call. So so then beneficiaries can do a missed call to the phone number of the SIM card on that Android. Our Android tells our server, and then we call them right back. So this is really important in order to reduce delays. And it's my belief that our customers shouldn't have to deal with telcos because it's so hard and it's so time consuming. So that's one of the pains that we worked really hard to take away. So that's the phone number functionality. So let's go create an engagement. Let's show you actually how to build interactive engagements in just minutes. You'll notice that we have two kinds of engagements right now, SMS and voice. We also have as I mentioned earlier, prepaid airtime transfer, and that'll be coming onto the platform soon, but we can do it manually already if you send us a spreadsheet with phone numbers and amounts. So if I press on SMS, I can do these different kinds of campaign types. I'll show you the curriculum. A blast is a simple one-time sending of a message. So a curriculum is sending out a set of information. So it could be a weekly health tip or a weekly tip to farmers. So you can even do things like personalization. So you can do dear first name, this is tip number 1. So we can send it out immediately or at some time in the future. And then we can do, this is tip number 2 as an example, and we can say, let's send this out 3 days later, and so on and so forth. So we can keep adding more messages. So this is the third one. So this way you could actually create a whole set of information that goes out to beneficiaries or staff members on a regular basis. And you'll notice down here that there are 3 ways of subscribing. So we make it super easy. So if you purchased a phone number or if you hooked up an Android, it'll show up here in this drop down. And then if somebody does a missed call to this phone number, they will automatically be enrolled in this curriculum campaign. So it's literally that easy to hook up a missed call. No programming required. So that's a curriculum. Go back. A poll or a survey is pretty powerful, especially because you can do things like answer validation. So if you do ask questions like, what is your age? You can validate, you can say the answer must be between 1 and 110. And if it's not, then we can automatically send back a response saying, sorry, please reply with 1 to 110, for example. So you can validate numbers or text. And we make that pretty easy. And again, the option down here is for missed calls so that people can actually trigger the survey for themselves at any time they want. So you could have an advertisement on our radio ad that says, take our survey to win $5 worth of airtime. Initiate the survey by doing a missed call to this phone number, and they'll automatically receive question 1. And then as soon as they answer, then they can go on to question 2, etc. An auto reply is a very powerful campaign type. One thing I forgot to point out is you'll notice that all of our campaigns are using a 3-step wizard format. So the first step is always the content. The second step is the contacts. And I'll show this to you later. And then you confirm and send. So we really try to make it super simple for anyone to be able to build these. So this is a auto reply campaign. What that means is people can send in a keyword and they automatically get a response back. So for example, we can set the keyword as malaria. And so if somebody sends in the word malaria as an SMS to your phone number, we will automatically send back saying, use bed nets to prevent malaria. Or they might send in the name of a town. So they could send in, you could ask them, send in the name of your town to learn about the voting hours. or locations for where the clinics are. The clinics are at 123 whatever Main Street, for example. And of course, you can add more keywords or simply upload a keyword file, an Excel spreadsheet with thousands of these keywords. So it can be a pretty powerful way to disseminate information by letting people retrieve this information at any time as they need it. It could even be prices for crops or weather information, anything really. So those are the key engagement types for SMS. I'll show you the voice one next. So the voice, we've got the blast, of course, where you can just send out a pre-recorded MP3 when they answer their phones. I'll show you the IVR poll first. So the IVR poll or the survey, we do have things like conditional logic. There's this advanced button on the top where you can see a lot more power for our advanced users. So there's all these actions like being able to trigger another engagement or conditional logic to jump to another question. So you could ask things like, press 1 if you speak Swahili, press 2 if you speak English, etc. Or update contact. So if they say they press 1 for Swahili, then we can actually record that this contact or this person's preferred language is Swahili for future campaigns, etc. In this case, I'll actually, for the purpose of demo, I'll do it in simple mode, just to keep it simple. So here, we're going to build a quick survey. I'm going to pick out MP3 files that I have on my hard drive. So these are just MP3 files. I can also record it through the browser. We also have this great functionality for languages. So in many places, the content must be in multiple languages. So here we can upload more versions of the MP3 files in more languages. So we can say this MP3 file is in Swahili, this one is in French. And this way, once the person selects what language they want to listen to, or if we already know it, they'll then hear the Swahili versions of all the messages. So it's a very easy way of adding multi-language support. Here we're looking for, so this question MP3 file that I uploaded says press 1 to learn about hand washing, press 2 for malaria, press 3 for something about pregnancy. So this is what you can type in. So this is what happens when somebody presses 1. So if they press 1, then we want to play this MP3 file. Now if they press 2, then we want to play the MP3 file for preventing malaria. So here we're building a very simple, and I'm going to add a key press. This is more like an information service. So press 3 to learn about danger signs during pregnancy. So I built a very simple IVR or interactive voice response menu. And others is if they press something other than 1, 2, or 3, we're going to play back a message that says, sorry, you've pressed an invalid key. Please press 1, 2, or 3. So very simple menu. I'll add a second question. So here I can actually record it to the browser even. Hi, now please speak how you feel about the platform after the tone and press any key to end. So that's how simple it was to be able to record something right through the browser. This way we don't have to record something separately. And then instead of a key press response, we can do a spoken response. So I should point out that there are 3 kinds of responses we can collect when we ask questions during a voice call. The first one is here. These are preset digits or numbers that they can press that mean something. Second one could be that they press a number that's an, as we say, open response, where you could ask them something like their age. Now, please press your age. Or it could be how many family members you have. Or please press or type in your weekly income. So things like that. Or it can be a third type, which is a spoken response. So this is where the person can actually speak their response in their own language, in their own voice, and we will capture that as an audio recording. And we can set here that the recording should be no longer than 10 seconds. And so that's how easy it was to build a 2-question survey. And of course, we can do missed calls if we want people to subscribe to it on their own. In this case, I just hit continue. So this is step number 2, you'll notice now. This is where we can type in people's phone numbers if we want to, if we already have people's phone numbers and we want to push this out. Another thing that we can do is on our contacts page, now we're on the contacts tab here, is you can actually upload a spreadsheet of contacts. So we've done here our create groups. We also have smart groups where you can define them based on criteria. I'll come back to this actually. And so, so I can select a group or I can select people. We've done a lot of little things to make it error-free and make it easier for our customers to use the platform. So for example, just by typing in the country code, you see the correct flag and then the correct formatting of the phone numbers in that country. For the US, it's this formatting. So it's these little things that are small, but they really help our customers be more productive and effective in running their campaigns. So because it's a big webinar, I'm not going to actually send this to anyone, but if we were doing a one-to-one demo, I would usually I get people's phone numbers and then I just type them in here during the demo and then actually send the call to them, and their phone rings in about 30-60 seconds and they can actually interact with the menu systems and see how easy it was. So if I had selected somebody, let's say this number, then I go to step 3 and it would tell me the cost. It was a US phone number, so it gives me the estimate for that person. This is where I can put in other phone numbers, if we had purchased other phone numbers, etc. Of course, I can schedule when this should go out in the future, and I can hit launch. And that's all it takes, those 3 steps. It's that simple to create a voice survey or a voice menu to retrieve information. And so typically, we tell people you can build these in 5 minutes, and it's literally, you can do that in 5 minutes. So I'll go back. The other kind of system you can build is an IVR menu. So the one I just showed you was a poll or survey where you're getting through a list of questions. This is a bit more complicated, so I'm not going to get into the details of it, but I'll just give you a quick glance at it. Here, this is an IVR menu, so this is where you can create a loop system where people can keep on retrieving information and keep going back up to a higher branch on the menu. So for example, you could have a IVR menu where people can call in, they could do a missed call to get a call back, or they could call into a local phone number, let's say in Kenya, and then our system answers and it says, press 1 to learn about health, press 2 to learn about agriculture, press 3 to learn about financial literacy, etc. And then if they press 1, it can then say, thank you for pressing 1 for health. Press 1 now to learn about tuberculosis. Press 2 to learn about malaria, etc. And then they can go back to the higher menu. So they can basically keep looping through the information menu forever. So that's the use for this program. Going back to the contacts, one of the things I like to show you is that you can also add custom columns for each person. So these are the things we've added in the past. All I did was hit the plus sign. I can say field 1. It could be anything. You can see previous examples have been carrier or age or country or province that they're in. And then if I can type this information in for that person. So I might say carrier, this is Verizon, for example. And then this information can be inserted into SMS very easily, or you can create a smart group based on that information. So you can say where carrier is equal to Verizon, and we could call this the Verizon group. And we can also add another clause where we can say maybe and language is equal to English. So it's a very useful way of creating dynamic groups. So as the information about those people updates, they automatically go in and out of these groups. One thing actually I forgot to show you, which I'll show you real quick, is on the SMS side, talking again about making things super simple, is the ability to support all languages in the world that are supported by phones and telcos. So for example, you can type in any language here. I'm actually going to just take some random Arabic text. It's on Google. I have no idea what this actually means. So of course, if I use English, I can say this is message number 1. But if I replace this with Arabic, you'll notice that it becomes right to left, because Arabic is a right to left language, and it's also Unicode, which means that instead of 160 characters per SMS, it'll be 70 characters per SMS. And of course, it can be any other language. It could be any of the Chinese languages or Indian languages or anything that the telcos and phones support. So we support every language. And we, again, try to make everything super simple. So that's that. I know we've got about 9 minutes left. I would love to take questions here. Before that, what I'll do is I'll just jump back to the presentation, show a couple more slides, and then we'll take questions. If I can figure out how to take questions, but let's see. Let me go back to the PowerPoint here. Sorry about that. Still learning how to use Google Hangouts. Here we go. So that was the Mercy Corps program that I talked about. This is an example of a HIV awareness soap operas that we're doing in Papua New Guinea with PSI. This is the Women's Violence Hotline in Jordan. This is a big program in India and Philippines around education for micro entrepreneurs on helping them become better business people to reduce default rates for the MFIs. So in conclusion, engageSPARK, the 3 things that we tell people that we've really focused on bringing value to our customers is, number 1, we made it super easy to use, so especially for non-technical people. As you noticed, I used a browser, used wizards to build campaigns in literally minutes. Second thing is we've done a lot of work with telcos to integrate with them, especially to be able to send and receive in any country, which is a big deal. And you can do this within minutes in any country without having to ever talk to a local telco. And very importantly, being a not-for-profit social business ourselves, and the mission for us is to help NGOs and social enterprises around the world maximize their impact, is by keeping the fees low and affordable. So we've tried to keep rates very low. It's all 100% transparent on the website, and it's only usage-based fees. So there are no minimums. There's no hundreds of dollars per month or upfront fees. Literally add in $10 or $5 to play around, test the system, get comfort, and then launch bigger programs. And so we feel that by doing all these 3 things, we are democratizing this technology for anybody in any country. This is something that we created to help our customers. We call this the 6 rules to spark social change using mobile phones. So number 1, pick an effective medium. Number 2, acquire a list of beneficiaries, use an engaging interactive format, create useful content, increase engagement rates using missed calls or incentives, including airtime transfer, and then very importantly, measure and iterate. I just realized the one thing I forgot to show you is the reports. So the reports is, let me go back. Sorry, there's a lot of information here. So the reports, as you can see, these are engagements that have finished in the past. I'll just pick, and so for each one, we'll click on report. So all of our reports are real time. So as calls or SMSs come in or finish, they will show up in the reports, and you can run them again and again just through a browser. This is a summary of what happened, how many people did what. So 4 people pressed 1, 2 people pressed invalid answers. Then they also record the responses, so we're able to tag things to be able to, so if they record a response, then you do have to have a staff member transcribe them. So manually transcribe them so we can type in what they're saying, etc. Or we can just add tags saying, this was a male person, this is female, and we have these nifty graphs on the bottom. But very importantly, you can download a detailed report. And the detailed report is an Excel spreadsheet. And the spreadsheet contains every event that happened during the phone call or with the SMSs. So this way you can see who answered the call, how long they listened for, the keys they pressed, etc. And this way you can actually segment or categorize people based on how long they listened to or with the keys they pressed. So if they press 1 for female, press 2 for male, then you can categorize and create groups for those kinds of subcategories or segments. I'm running out of time actually, and the report is still generating, so I'll actually see if I can figure out how to do some Q&A. Let's see. Oh, one last thing actually here is this is NeuroHealth is one of our customers, and this is a great quote that Katie wrote to us. It's talking about how they don't have to worry about telecoms, and we've really worked hard to have great customer service. And also, you can email me. Here's my email address. I'm happy to send this presentation to Sarah, who can forward it on to you as well. But we're happy to do a free consultation on help you figure out how to maximize your impact using these technologies. So let's see. Let's stop my screen share. And I guess you can't see the group chat. So what we can do is go back to here to the Google Hangouts page, and I guess you can post questions there. So if you want to post a question, please go ahead. I'm not sure if this is working, and I can't hear your audio. Sorry about this. Let's see. See if I can figure out how to turn on audio. Yeah, I'm not able to turn on the audio. I'm not sure how this works. Yeah, I see the first question from Catherine. How is engageSPARK funded? So far, it's been funded. We've been bootstrapping it. I put in my own money to start this because I saw the huge need for it. So self-funded and bootstrapped. Other questions? So you can post questions on the Google Hangouts page, I guess. I'll actually share this so that everybody can see what I'm talking about. So I believe you should be able to see this. So if you go onto the Google Hangouts page, here we go. So Jody Ann asks, what use cases have people tried to use engageSPARK for and were not successful? That's a good question. I'm trying to think where we've had programs where people have. I don't know if there's any use cases where people have had failures. More so, we see failures when people when somebody wants to do a program and they delegate the building of these campaigns to someone who's really not that interested or motivated in making things work and iterate. So we see as people, so for example, there was a health program and in Africa, and the person wasn't really that motivated, so they didn't want to iterate, so they just sent out all these survey questions to their health workers without doing any experimentation of small groups first, and then tweaking and iterating their campaign. And so they didn't get great results because of that. Catherine asks, other organizations that do a similar thing. There's several organizations out there that are in the same space. We're the only ones, so what all of our customers tell us, including Katie, who did look at all the other providers out there, and the way I like to differentiate ourselves from them is that we're the next generation provider, in that we really listen to customers and are focused on those three things, on making it super simple so no techies are required. All the other solutions out there do require technical competence. Number two, they typically have big upfront fees of hundreds or $1,000 or $2,000 to just get going. And number three, they haven't done the telco integration, so they might only work in a handful of countries, but they're not. You can't get local phone numbers instantly, so their telco integration is not that great. And because they're definitely, none of them are pay-per-use, especially from the voice side. So this means that people just are not able to experiment easily. So we feel that other providers' technologies keep this technology in the hands of the bigger NGOs or the bigger programs with more technical staff. And people tell us that this is the only platform they've seen where they can easily, quickly, and affordably engage with their staff and constituents. Other questions? Yep, and to Tara's question, yep, I'll send the PowerPoint to Sarah. If you want, you can also post your email address here, and I can send that to you directly as well. All right, I guess there aren't any more questions. Feel free to send me questions. My email address is here. Or you can always just email info@engagespark.com, or just go onto our website and contact us there. So feel free to contact us. We're happy to do a free consultation, give advice, and we can share more about our learnings, give you a demo to your phone. And I want to thank Sarah at Malago for arranging all this and letting us do a demo and share our platform with all of you. Thank you very much. I look forward to engaging with all of you in the future. Thank you.